This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. A dancer described as one of Dunedin's treasures passed away this week. Shona Dunlop McTavish, known as New Zealand's mother of modern dance, died on Tuesday morning, surrounded by family at the age of 99.
Still actively engaged with modern dance despite being in her late 90s, Shona Dunlop McTavish, seen here watching a Chinese dance troupe at the Dunedin Public Art Gallery in March this year. Born in Dunedin in 1920, her dancing career was the subject of two films, one being the 2009 production Wind Dancer, where she spoke of travelling to Vienna as a young teenager and studying under choreographer Gertrude Bodenwieser.
She used to stare at me through a little lorgnette and say, "Shoni, Shoni, Richterfuß." She would get very cross because I was always going the wrong direction.
But many of the dancers were Jewish, so to escape Nazi persecution, they left Europe to tour South America, where they were adored by the public.
Everywhere you went, they flung orchids at you. It was a wonderful time. You felt great, you know, suddenly you were tremendous. And there would be queues of young men outside the theatre waiting to take us to supper every night.
While living in Australia, she fell in love and married missionary the Reverend John McTavish and followed him to China.
It all came together through his big heart and his love of humanity and his caring for those who were not getting a fair share of life and his readiness to fight for them no matter what. My dancing friends all thought I was mad. Marrying a missionary, going off to China, the last thing they would ever have thought I would do.
They were later reposted to South Africa, where she stood up against apartheid.
I mean, the situation was appalling, so we became part of what they call the torchbearers, which were people fighting it. For the first time, we insisted that the African and the European were to attend the same performance, and that was absolutely a no-no, you know. And then I started teaching African children to dance, but it didn't happen that way. They taught me.
Her husband died prematurely in 1956 and she returned with her two young children to Dunedin, where she eventually established the Dunedin Dance Theatre in 1963. She later received an MBE and an honorary doctorate from Otago University and was still teaching dance well into her 90s. A public service will be held at Knox Church next Tuesday at 1 p.m. and Channel 39 will screen the hour-long documentary of her life on Tuesday night. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A man accused of stabbing miniature horse Star 41 times has been granted name suppression. The 49-year-old appeared in the Dunedin District Court this morning, accused of willfully ill-treating an animal causing its death. The alleged attack is thought to have happened about midnight on February the 18th in a Waitati paddock while the horse was tethered to a fence. The 10-year-old horse died the following night. Star's owner, Mandy Mayhem Bullock, says her family and community are relieved an arrest has been made after what has been 4 months since the killing. The defendant is set to reappear early next month. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment or a $100,000 fine. Presbyterian support Otago's biggest winter fundraiser began as the sun was coming up in Dunedin's Octagon this morning. Organisers say below freezing conditions early on didn't deter Dunedinites from donating.
Gingerly navigating ice for the greater good. Scores of people, from the very young to the more senior Dunedin residents and office workers, took time out of their day and food from their pantries to donate to the annual Octagon appeal.
It's going really well. I mean, it's freezing cold down here, but the people's hearts in Dunedin are really warm, and that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing school kids, we've had preschools through already, and businesses and just the general public coming down.
It's Presbyterian Support Otago's biggest event of the year, with the organisation needing to put 20,000 items in its stores for the city's needy families.
Feels awesome. Like, it's such a nice feeling seeing people from all walks of life and parts of the city bringing their donations and coming together. It's really cool. It's really nice.
Fundraising events coordinator Hannah Day is new to the team, and with this being her first Octagon, she says they've changed the event ever so slightly.
Yeah, so we're doing a street appeal on the same day, which I think is kind of new. It's happened in other years. And we're also doing online donations, so people can donate with money at octacan.org.nz, and that's gone really well as well, getting some monetary donations through there.
Warren Rosser says the Family Works team, who are at the coalface of helping individuals, say people from all walks of life are needing help.
It just takes, if you're living week to week in terms of your paycheck, it just takes one big item to have an impact. So you have a big car bill or a medical bill or something else unexpected, you have a job change. It just takes one big item like that to really impact on your weekly costs and to mean that you're having to find a way to stretch things further.
He says people shouldn't feel any sense of shame for having to call on their services. Many people and organisations make the annual pilgrimage to donate, including this group from NZI Life.
Oh, we actually just love doing this, so it's a small thing.
A small thing that we can all do to help out other people.
You don't have to spend a fortune to bring a few cans down, so everyone should be doing it really. Yeah.
Cans are sorted into different groups to make it easier for staff to organise storage, a crucial part of the process as they hand out 10,000 food items per month. In Dunedin, the South Today.
An apartment block which aims to ease Queenstown's housing crisis is causing issues of its own for nearby households. Frankton residents have described the headache of living with constant noise and vibrations due to the construction of the new Toru apartments. Some are even thinking about moving out. And there's still a long way to go. Construction on the 3 high-rises below Remarkable's Park Town Centre began less than 2 months ago and won't be completed for about 2.5 years. Residents say there's been an increase in traffic, as well as constant noise and shaking. New Ground Capital boss Roy Thompson sympathises with residents, saying there'll be a big push for people not to use cars. Ben Smith will play at least one more game for the Highlanders. The classy All Black outside back has been named in a settled-looking side for the quarter-final against the Crusaders in Christchurch tomorrow night. But he's certainly in no mood to discuss the opposition.
Ben Smith back training with the Highlanders this week after being sidelined since suffering a hamstring injury almost 2 months ago. He's set to take the paddock tomorrow night in Christchurch after his team slipped into the Super Rugby playoffs in 8th spot. Just don't mention the opposition.
Look, I don't really want to talk about the Crusaders. For this team, it's concentrating on what we can do this weekend and on Friday night, and that's what we've been doing this week. So we've been really preparing well so that we can go out there and play well on Friday night.
And they'll need to be prepared as the back-to-back Super Rugby champion Crusaders finish the regular season in top spot. And they've got a raft of All Blacks returning to their ranks as well. For his Highlanders teammates though, Smith's return is just the boost they need.
He epitomises the Highlander man. It's all about being humble, hard-working and just enjoying every day. He's just so bubbly during the day, always sort of bouncing around, good vibes. And yeah, people like myself looking up to him just want to aspire to be like him. He's a top man and he's going to be missed at the Highlanders.
Smith is set to leave New Zealand Rugby at the end of the season, and while he's not one for sentiment, he would like to expand on his 152 appearances beyond this week.
I don't want to look back too much. I just want to make sure that I'm doing all I can to try and play well on Friday night and help the team, and then yeah, I suppose after it's all finished, then I'll look back and I'll reflect, but at the moment it's about trying to play well on Friday.
The Highlanders have a much more menacing look about them as well, with recent returnees Liam Squire, Jackson Hemapor and Waisaki Naholo bolstering the side's quality. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, we have the latest edition of Global Insight with Professor Robert Patman, so see you after the break.
The season has changed, and at Alec Campbell Menswear, in our 3 stores, Cromwell, South Dunedin and Mosgiel, we have it covered. Check out these jackets. They'll keep you warm and dry and stylish. Of course, we're known for our fashion shirts, but in the winter we do have our lovely warm shirts. Look at them all. And we're known for our great range of winter knitwear too. Don't forget our stretch moleskins, 6 colours.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
We'll keep you warm and dry and looking just great.
At the Hard to Find Bookshop, we sell quality books on all subjects from the rare to the recent, and where viable, we will come to you. We have a great reputation for integrity and honesty, so if you're downsizing or sorting an estate and have books to sell, contact us.
It's too late to sow seed, but don't despair. Ready Lawn is the answer to all your garden woes. Call Ready Lawn today on 027 22 88 190.
If you're suffering from sciatica, lower back pain, hips and pelvis and knees, this technique will work wonders for you. The energy flow is transmitting through the muscles. Come and see Sunny Chin.
Step into Op Shop on St Andrew and discover a place with plenty of bargains for yourself, your friends and the whole family. We have new items arriving every day. Visit us for a fabulous range of economy and upmarket clothing, accessories, books, shoes and more. Shop with us and support your community.
Garrador Dunedin, delivering quality stylish garage doors in Dunedin for over 17 years. New doors, replacement doors and maintenance are all part of Garrador's quality service. Garrador Dunedin offers a full range of modern quality doors to suit any home. Come visit the team.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Ricky here from Beds R Us Dunedin, your local sleep specialists. Come in and try our huge touchscreen sleep selector, taking the hard work out of choosing the right bed for you. See you here.
When it's time to say goodbye to your pet, Heaven Sent Pet Cremations are here to help you through this difficult experience. Call Heaven Sent Pet Cremations today for their care and guidance. Phone 489 2274.
Welcome back. International relations expert Professor Robert Patman predicts protests in Algeria and Sudan are symptoms of forces that will bring ongoing change in the Arab world. Some see this week's death of Mohamed Morsi as a symbol of the failure of the Arab Spring. But in the latest edition of Global Insight, Professor Patman tells ODT Features writer Bruce Munro that would be premature.
Welcome, Robert.
Morning, Bruce.
I want to ask you today about the legacy of the Arab Spring. But let's start by asking, what was the Arab Spring and what countries did it affect?
Well, the Arab Spring was something that came almost out of the blue for outside observers, and it consisted of protests, anti-government demonstrations, which seemed to be largely spontaneous, and also it led to, in some cases, armed resistance by members of the population. A number of countries were affected by the Arab Spring. The most directly affected were countries such as Tunisia, Egypt, Libya and the Yemen. All those countries saw governments overthrown in this process. Other countries were also deeply affected. The civil war in Syria is a direct result of the Arab Spring, or as it's sometimes called by Arab observers, the Arab Awakening.
The Arab Spring began with a Tunisian vegetable seller's desperate protest. Almost a decade later, what's the legacy of the Arab Spring in Tunisia?
Well, Tunisia is seen by some as the model for democratic transition that was ushered in by the Arab Spring. But it's got to be said that it remains a fragile situation in Tunisia. Unfortunately, according to non-government organisations, some of the practices of the old regime, the Ben Ali dictatorship, such as torture and detention, outside the framework of the law, so to speak, many of those practices seem to have continued. So, in a sense, it's progress, more freedom, but I don't think it's quite met the hopes of those who were behind the overthrow of President Ben Ali.
And what about the situation in Egypt? Morsi was the first elected leader of that country. He certainly didn't bring secular democracy to Egypt. Were we expecting too much too quickly?
Possibly. It's got to be said that Egypt, in comparison with Tunisia, has made much less progress. There were great hopes after the protests, the mass protests, which led to Hosni Mubarak's dictatorship being overthrown. And as you indicated in your remarks, it's fair to say that President Morsi struggled somewhat in power, and that led to protests against his regime. And it was in July 2013, during protests in Tahrir Square, which was the sort of crucible of popular protests against the Mubarak regime. Morsi government found itself on the receiving end of protests, and it was the defence minister, General El-Sisi, who seized power on behalf of the military. And in 2014, in an election, Sisi became the new leader of Egypt, and we have seen a real clampdown. This is repression has come back with abundance in Egypt, and El-Sisi has basically put himself in power for a long time, and he's very intolerant of any opposition. So that to some extent, many Egyptians feel the country has regressed, and some describe it as a worse situation now than it was under Mubarak. But whether it's difficult to be precise on that issue, though.
What do the contrasting experiences of Tunisia and Egypt show us about the legacy of the Arab Spring? Was it a new beginning, or was it a false dawn?
I think it was a bit of both. I think it's premature for three reasons, because I think there were three drivers behind the Arab Spring, and I think those drivers for change remain in place. One driver was the demographic explosion that's occurred in the Arab world. The population has rapidly increased with all the demands that imposes on society, and about 30% of Arabs are under 30. So you've got a predominantly young population with access to new technology which allows instant and relatively discreet communication. The second point, I think, which is really important, is economic decline. The economic situation in the Arab world, in the Middle East, has got worse. Egypt is experiencing severe inflation at the moment. The prospects of employment are not good. As much as 30% of the populations in many Arab countries remain unemployed. The third factor is that repression remains widespread in the Middle Eastern world. In short, I think those drivers of economic decline, demographic increases, and also repression are going to combine for further upheavals. If we look at two countries which are currently experiencing protests, Algeria and Sudan, and many of those people who are protesting have been inspired by the memories of what occurred in 2010, 2011, which saw the overthrow of dictators, dictatorships which had previously been seen as untouchable. And I think that people power is not over in the Middle East, and so we could see further convulsions in the future.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Catch us next time on Global Insight. Philaman.
After the break on The South today, we take a look at the Ida Burns annual Macrae curling tournament, and we have tomorrow's weather for you, so stay with us.
risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
If you're suffering from sciatica, lower back pain, hips and pelvis and knees, this technique will work wonders for you. The energy flow is transmitting through the muscles. Come and see Sunny Chin.
Step into Shop on Carroll and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
At the Hard to Find Bookshop, we sell quality books on all subjects from the rare to the recent, and where viable, we will come to you. We have a great reputation for integrity and honesty, so if you're downsizing or sorting an estate and have books to sell, contact us.
Step into Ross Cafe, located at Ross Home in North East Valley. We have a great range of hot and cold food, friendly service and a warm atmosphere that you are sure to enjoy. We look forward to serving you soon at Ross Cafe.
It's too late to sow seed, but don't despair. Ready Lawn is the answer to all your garden woes. Call Ready Lawn today on 027 22 88 190.
The season has changed, and at Alec Campbell Menswear, in our 3 stores, Cromwell, South Dunedin and Mosgiel, we have it covered. Check out these jackets. They'll keep you warm and dry and stylish. Of course, we're known for our fashion shirts, but in the winter we do have our lovely warm shirts. Look at them all. And we're known for our great range of winter knitwear too. Don't forget our stretch moleskins, 6 colours.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
We'll keep you warm and dry and looking just great.
Bowel cancer is the second highest cause of cancer death in New Zealand.
And New Zealand's got a higher rate of bowel cancer than many other Western countries. Because it's one of those areas of the body that we don't talk about often enough.
It is one of those silent killers almost, that if it strikes and if you develop symptoms, sometimes it's too late.
So it's a major issue.
Thanks for staying with us. Ida Burns' annual Macrae Curling Tournament is back, giving curlers a chance to showcase their talents. The tournament, which takes place over several weeks, features 23 teams from the Ida Burn area and further afield, including Arrowtown and Gore. Teams compete each Monday and Wednesday throughout June, depending on the weather. The tournament is named after Lockie Macrae, who was a member of the Alexandra Curling Club. The competition started in 1993, the year the Ice and Line complex opened at Molyneux Park. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. We remember one of Dunedin's favourite daughters, Shona Dunlop McTavish, who passed away on Tuesday after a rich and full life. Dunedin's annual Alta Can appeal began in below freezing conditions, but many donations warmed organisers' hearts, with many people donating early. And Ben Smith will play at least one more game for the Highlanders and isn't talking about the opposition as he's focused on the Highlanders. And now looking at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome Barry Stewart. What have you got for us in tomorrow's paper?
Hi Melissa. A reasonably big lineup of news stories tomorrow. We start with a proposal to cut 30 jobs from Sanford, a bluff fish processing operation. So that's difficult news for them down there. So we have a reaction from community leaders about that.
That will devastate such a small community.
But they're still maintaining their operation, focusing on a particular harvest. So they're just relocating to other areas to do specific fish. So Winter Festival starts, of course, in Queenstown this evening. We'll have reports and pictures and all the action from up there. The Harbour Rugby Club has turned to a private investigator as it prepares for a possible court battle to save Mola Park. So more on that story. And the man accused of stabbing a miniature horse is behind bars, and his name has been suppressed. Film industry in Dunedin is booming on the back of news. A Hollywood film is set to be shot in the city. We had that in the ODT earlier this week. So it's not just that. There are other things happening in the area. And of course, the big thing happening tomorrow is what, Melissa? Of course, the Highlanders versus the Crusaders. You knew that.
Yes, I did.
So yeah, so big performance needed by the Highlanders, but they're optimistic in Christchurch tomorrow night. So we'll have a preview of that, and our rugby writer will be there to report all the action and
Very
hopefully
exciting.
a win.
Lovely. Thank you for that,
Thank
Barry. And you can catch all of that in tomorrow's ODT. Go the Highlanders. And now it's time for a look at tomorrow's weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by MolMap.
Starting with our southern view of a heavy frost on a car at Dunedin's Momona Airport this morning. Looking at the situation, clearing weather this weekend will see cooler southwesterly winds, but some sunshine thrown in too. Starting off at the northwest of the South Island, Greymouth and Westport can expect showers and 13 degrees. Across to the northeast, Nelson and Blenheim are likely to be dry with 15 degrees. In Canterbury, Kaikoura has a high of 13, Christchurch 11, and so too does Ashburton with clear skies. Looking at the southern towns, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore are all expecting highs of 8 with moderate northwesterlies, but probably some cloud as well. Travelling westward to the Central Lakes, Wanaka and Queenstown have a high of 7, Alexandra and Te Anau both have highs of 8 with Te Anau looking maybe to get some showers. Looking to the northern towns, light northerlies and clear skies on the coast, with Timaru and Oamaru looking at a high of 10 and Twizel and Amarama looking at highs of 7. And Dunedin, a high of 7, a low of 7 is expected tonight. Tomorrow we're looking at a high of 13 and a low of 5. And on Saturday, we're looking at a high of 11 and a chilly low of 1 degree. So get out your winter mittens. And in Invercargill, tonight we're looking at a low of 8. Tomorrow we're looking at a high of 12 and a low of 8. And on Saturday, a high of 9 and another chilly low of 1 degree. And that's all for our news this Thursday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.